Good evening. This is my first live show, so hang in there, folks. Getting used to all this technology. So, can you hear me? Let me know. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Trying to get this new streaming. I'm trying to get this thing set up so I can have guests here. Looks like I've got guests. Okay. Okay. New to my. Okay. Okay. I'm just checking everything out here. Hopefully, there's some people here right now. Hello there. If anybody's there on this, let me know that I'm getting actually feedback in. This is the first time I've set this thing up, so I should be rocking and rolling now. Check out stream. Okay. Try this one here. Okay. Present or invite. New streaming to hide. Okay. If I have any guests here, if anybody's got any comments, let me know you're here just so I can go ahead and start broadcasting. Okay. So, this is the conscious hour. And I'm just trying to see. It looks like I've got guests here. So, what I'm going to be talking about tonight is what's the future of Israel? And somebody says, well, that's kind of a strange question. What's the future of Israel? Well, we have to be serious about it. It's being destroyed right now as we're talking about it. And the attack that's going on, I knew it was coming. It was just a matter of time. And I always said that it'd be 24 to 48 hours. But the one thing I want to mention is that about a year ago, or more than a year ago, probably April of last year, there was drone footage that I believe it was Iran had sent a drone over, and they had mapped all the strategic areas. That's military targets, power sources, airports, etc. That is central to the operation of the IDF. And they map those because they have a different philosophy about life. Um, Actually, I'm wearing a T-shirt that I bought, and it's an indigenous shirt. If you can see this, so what's the word indigenous? It means from the land, people that have lived here for a long, long time, like the Native Americans. They'd been here for hundreds of thousands of years, just like the natives, the indigenous people, the Palestinians, indigenous people that live around the world. Unfortunately, um, through history, we learn that it's worth a lot of money if we get rid of these people. hmm So we know what happened to the American Indians. I'll get into they later, over 100 million at some numbers I've seen. And in that story of indigenous, there's this one, kind of a interesting twist. When the settlers first got here, they wanted to clear the land out of these people that weren't into money. They were into a barter system. And so they cleaned them out, kept clearing them out, clearing them out, clearing them out. And then pretty soon they kind of ran out of land, these invaders, these white invaders. And what did they do? They gave Oklahoma to them after they'd kind of downsized all of their territories and was killing them off. They said, hey, we'll give you Oklahoma, the whole state of Oklahoma. That'll be Indian country. I heard that the first time in history class and I cracked up. I went, what? These people lived all over the United States and you put them into a big state called, what was it? It was a state that's called Oklahoma. Well, they did. And then after they got them into the state, they realized they had more settlers coming to the big new America and they ran them out. Okay. So what does it have to do with Israel? Who are the Palestinians? Who's Hamas? Okay. Imagine being an indigenous person living on that land for hundreds of years, thousands of years. Their culture goes way back. And so they were living there. And then somebody comes in, knock, 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 Great Britain. Well, it wasn't really knock, 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 the Balfour document. And they came in and said, hey, we're moving in. We're moving in. Okay. They created this land called Israel. And I'm not a joke. Is it real? On paper, it is. And people living here for a long time calling it Israel, it is. But is it respectful of the indigenous people? Well, no, because they stole the land from the indigenous people. Remember, before 1948, Israel didn't exist. And remember, it's the size of New Jersey, a very small piece of land. So in this history, we look around the world and look at how many wars we've had in all of this. So we're at this critical point now where Israel is being literally systematically destroyed in key targets, key areas. I don't believe that the Iranian people or the revolution, they call it the Revolutionary Guard, whatever, Iran is interested in killing innocent civilians. In fact, I know they aren't. They have no wish to ever do that. How many times have they attacked Israel before? How many times has Israel, CIA, and Mossad attacked other countries? The history is full of it. So they're strategically taking it out because they want to stop this Zionist agenda. And it's basically a white world agenda that believes that they could go into other countries and steal their resources. We have a history of that. Just start from Vietnam on and look at all the wars we had. The United States was involved in CIA, Mossad, same bird. One's left, one's right. One's in Israel, one's in the United States. And they do this all over the world. And so now we're at this stage where people are saying, well, will Netanyahu use nuclear weapons? Well, Netanyahu left to Greece. Last time I heard he was there. And would he use nuclear weapons? Yeah, for sure. Just because look at him. He's programmed. He's the supreme leader of Zionism. And would the US government back him on that? Trump, he's a shapeshifter. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But does Israel have nuclear weapons? I love this conversation. They're debating it on the news sometimes. Oh, they don't have them. They have them. Well, they don't. They don't. Oh, BS. In 1994 to 1996, I was involved with work that I was doing inside federal agencies, and Israel had 440 nuclear weapons. When Eisenhower was president, and it's a good one, Israel was stealing yellow cake. I think it was from Ohio. I can't remember the actual area they were processing yellow cake. Yellow cake is uranium oxide. It makes nuclear bombs. And they were stealing it and taking it to Israel. So when I heard this debate, oh, does Israel have nuclear weapons? Well, we don't know. And we don't, oh, come on. We know. And I don't know why the press doesn't know, and I don't know why the press doesn't know history, but I'm kind of a history buff when it comes to looking at the world. So who am I? My name is Gregory de. I'm changing my name later. I'm going to change it to Gregory Lee Francis Agnetti de because my mother gave me birth, and I figured, hey, just like in Central America, you should put the mother's name in there. So I'm going to change my name eventually. But what was I about when I was a little kid? I kept asking a question. I heard this from my dad. He said, oh, the damn world's so fucked up. This was after World War II. And so I wondered why the world was so fucked up. So I went on a mission in life to figure it out because I looked at life as being this joyful thing, a joyful experience. And everywhere I went in the world, I was liked. Why? Because I don't see borders. I just see people. Who cares where you're from? Do you think I care if you're a right wing or a left wing of the United States people? No, I don't ask you, hey, are you a right winger or a left winger? That's kind of like they got us in this brain sync. You got a left brain attitude, you got a right brain attitude. I got an idea. Let's do this. Let's take this right brain, left brain. I'm a this and I'm a this and I'm a this. Let's take all the labels off everybody. Let's get all the labels. Get rid of all the labels. You don't have any countries. You don't have any ID. You're just a human being. Imagine how the world would look if you could get to that mindset that you're just a part of a family that lives on planet Earth. Think about it. If there's any comments, anybody wants to make comments, you can give comments. But so now we have this nucleus of people who have been polarized by politics. Politics is a game of division, because if they can keep you divided, you can fight amongst yourselves. And look where we are today. We have the Proud Boys, and I'm not picking on you guys, but Proud Boys. Some of these Proud Boys are enlightened. They aren't into, my way or the highway. The Proud Boys that look at America, they have a vision that we're respectful of people, we're good people, but we don't like our government. And we don't like, say, the Democrats right now. Well, let me ask you a question. How many people actually trust politicians? Nobody. That's why in the 60s we called them the Beltway Bandits. I heard that with my dad. Those damn Beltway Bandits. Look at them now. Hey, look at how rich they are. Nancy Pelosi, what, $770 million? And Mitch McConnell. My God. I'm sorry, Mitch. I don't even want to use the word. I'll use it. You're a bit. No, I don't want to use no words. No, Mitch, I don't respect you. Lindsey Graham, look at how much money they have. Just take all the politicians. How did they get so rich? Maybe they're robber barons. They were robbing banks or something. No, insider trading. Anyways, let's get back to politics and the game of division. So let me ask you a question. When you go to a doctor and you're having your brain looked at, do you think they just look at one side of the brain or the other? Yeah, let's look at your right brain, your left brain. Your brain is one entity that when it's functioning in good balance, you see everything. And so I'm going to ask everybody to think of dropping the idea that you're something like a Republican or Democrat or a communist or a socialist or a fascist or whatever. Take all the labels away and look at us as human beings. Now let's talk about Israel. We all know what Israel, not everybody, but I would think that most people know that Israel is a state that's the size of New Jersey, and it's an apartheid state. They put the Palestinian people in little compounds. I'll call them cages, not like an animal cage, a big animal cage. And they blocked them all off. So imagine living in Portland, Oregon, or San Francisco, or any city, and you have a section where there's these big walls around, and you have to have your pass. They let you through. The IDF lets you through, and sometimes they don't. Can you imagine living like that? Imagine taking Oklahoma City and breaking it up into encampments, or Miami, Florida. This is what the Palestinian people have been living in. And for Americans, they don't even know that. They've never seen that. They've never been to Israel. They don't know what's going on. So Israel now, like I said, is being dismantled from the operational standpoint of the military, air bases, everything liquidated. And why would Iran do that in such a way instead of just killing everybody off like Israel does with the Palestinians? The difference is respect for all life, indigenous, going back to the Native Americans, going back to all indigenous cultures. So, what's going on over there is the cleansing has stopped. What I call ethnic cleansing has decreased. I'm sure they're still doing Gaza and Rafah, but maybe now they've stopped. I haven't seen a report on that because we're watching the rest of the destruction. I hope they've stopped all that. But what does Israel look like in the future? Well, some people would say it should just be dismantled, you know, and then other people are talking, well, we could rebuild it, and and then you're going to have your factions again. But I don't think you have to keep it the same way. I think that the Zionist mentality that they're superior to all others needs to go away. It's not part of a respectful world. It's not respectful of other cultures. So that needs to go away. Just like racism needs to go away. We need to start looking at the world as one big planet with one group of people, not defined by borders. Think about that one. No borders. What do you need governments for? Think about it. If you have any comments, give comments. What do you need governments for? Have you done a good job? Look at our highway system. Look at our railroad system. Look at the amount of money they spend on the military industrial complex compared to spending it at home, making America great again. Donald, I got an idea. You get me into you as an advisor, I'll make America great for everybody. You see, I don't care about politics. I don't care if they're left wing or right wing. Don't care. I always look at the world as my dad used to tell me this when I was a kid. If you have a problem, define it. Figure out how you're going to fix the fucking thing. That was my dad. And then he said, fix it. Don't bitch, just fix it. So I've taken my whole life, and that's when I got involved with the government back in 1988 as a long-haired hippie dude, creating solutions for their complex problems. No matter who I advised, if it was the Department of Energy or EPA or CDC or NIOSH or ATSDR or state of Washington, state of Oregon, everything I was suggesting they liked. Why? It was a solution. It's not hard to create a future for Israel. And this is what I want to talk about right now. The future of Israel. I see in Israel where there's a lot of confusion between how they were taught about the world and how the world has kind of slapped them in the face. Some people will be angry that Iran attacked them and they're the enemy, which is delusional. Just look at the wars that Israel and the United States has been in, Mossad, CIA, and then look at the wars that Iran's been raping and pillaging other countries around the world. They haven't. Okay, so we're going back to the indigenous. I see a world where the Israelis could rebuild their society. People from Israel could rebuild their society, and they live there, just like everyone else, except Zionism, what I call uber right or white, doesn't exist. And that goes the same for the whole entire world. We're sitting here talking about, I'm not, but US media, oh, China, Taiwan, Taiwan's getting big, the Chinese could be taking Taiwan. I didn't even want to hear it. Chinese people live in Taiwan. They have lived there for a long, long time. And actually did business in Taiwan. 1978, 1979, 1980. I did business in Hong Kong. I do business anywhere in the world. I don't care where you're from. Doesn't make any difference. So Israel can be a country that has prosperity because it's a beautiful area, but they have to be able to realize that what they were taught, I'm talking about the Zionist agenda, is a failed ideology. The world doesn't have any place for it. And somebody says, oh, he's being really cruel to the Zionists. No, I'm being cruel to the military industrial complex. I'm saying instead of spending literally since Vietnam hundreds of trillions or quadrillions of dollars on the military industrial complex. So then somebody says, well, this guy will get himself shot. He's trying to shut down the military industrial complex. No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that we have more than enough weapons to destroy the entire planet, that the game of I'm conquering over you is dead on arrival. And we have a world now that works to create solutions for all countries' problems. And who would be the best ones to do it? The military. They do that. They know how to build bridges and they know how to do construction. So what you do is you revamp the military to be the Peace Corps. And they go out with their skill sets, just like the Chinese are doing with the Belt Road Initiative, helping countries. We go out and help countries. And imagine this. Imagine if we could take our military budget and get rid of it. We don't have to produce a bunch of warplanes and high technology for the next future war and go down this thing where we, the people, get nothing. They throw crumbs at us. Hundreds of trillions of dollars have been spent since the Vietnam War. Imagine had that money been spent rebuilding America. Imagine. We'd have high-speed rails. China has high-speed rails, 340, 380 kilometers an hour. They have the longest tunnel under the sea of any country in the world. They built one highway section that's 5,000 miles long. And there's this one ravine that's 5 miles across, a ravine, and they built it in suspension for 5 miles. So when people are talking about China being a problem, give me a break. China's not the problem. Have you ever seen a Chinese warship, aircraft carrier, battleship off the coast of California, Oregon, and Washington? Never. So China's not a problem. We don't need to be building weapons of mass destruction for the future ones. We have so many weapons right now. Literally, we could blow up the entire earth. We could kill everybody in the earth with the weapons we have. So why do we want to pay them more money of our tax dollars to build those? No reason at all. So we have to give them something else to do. Otherwise, they come and kill you. So I got one. Let's rebuild the world. Let's go into all the countries and help them build their nations, just like China's doing. Now, one other thing I want to mention is money. Okay, a long time ago, in 1971, Tricky Dick Nixon took us off the gold standard. It was about time. He knew it was a bunch of bullshit. Oh, your money's backed in gold. It wasn't then in 1971. So Nixon came out and said, we're off the gold. Okay. I came home from college, my second year of college, and I said to my dad, I said, hey, Dad, your money's not worth anything. And he pulls $1 out. Well, yes, it is. And I looked at him and laughed. I said, it's fiat. It's funny money, phony money, fiat, fake money. And he got all upset. I said, it's fake money. Okay, so let's look at a world where we have no Bitcoins, shitcoins, all that are coins. We don't have any dollars. So what do we have? Well, if you think about it, we're going through a numerical system, plus and minuses. You got a credit, you got a debit. You got a credit, debit, credit, debit, credit, debit. Okay, that's all it is, numbers. So let's go to a universal base credit system, not an income, a credit system, base credit. Remember, it's not backed in gold, so you can't bitch, we can't afford it. Somebody told me that the current low wage in the United States is $7.50. Nobody could live on that. $80,000 is what they call a livable wage. These people make $7.50. So this is a perfect example for the rest of America that can't even make ends meet. It's real simple. We go to a debit and credit system. When you're 14 years old, you get 80,000 credits. Somebody says, "Are you insane? We can't afford it." Sure you can. It's just credits. It's not tied to anything. It never has been. So we give everybody 80,000 credits. Why? Like I said before, the Office of Management Budget 3 years ago said the livable wage in the United States was 79,000 to 80,500 bucks. So I said, great, we'll take 80,000 credits, give it to every 14-year-old. Hold on. So the 14-year-old gets an 80,000 credits in his bank. You think he wants to go to school? Maybe this 14-year-old, he can drive a car too at that age. At 18 or 14 years old, maybe he's got an idea for something. He wants to go do it. He goes, does it. Imagine taking everybody in the United States of America and giving them 80,000 credits right now. Right now. You want to end poverty? You want to stimulate the economy? Boom. You want to do the same thing worldwide. We go to a universal debit and credit system. And why is this important? Let's talk about data centers. I'm a futurist. That's one thing I do. You can see how my mind works. I have all these pieces of the puzzle. Because when I was a little kid, I said, why is the world so fucked up? So I went on a mission to understand why the world's so fucked up. And like my dad said, if you got a problem, define it. Figure out how to fix it, and then fix it. So let's go back to the money system. We go through a universal base credit and debit system. That means there's no poverty in the world. That means that there's no need for war in the world because we're respectful of all countries and we just debit and credit for oil or whatever we want. And we create a global economy. So for the people that own the goods and services, meaning the corporations, they're going to make massive credits. They're going to make so many more credits. But the beautiful thing about this is you don't have to have these huge data centers. Huge data centers. They built one in Memphis, Tennessee, for example, Elon Musk, Tesla. He put a data center out there, but they didn't have enough power. Why he went there was because the environmental regulations for air pollution were minimal, and he could get cheap land, and then he could bring in, I think he's got 150 propane generators, whatever, a whole ton of them, and he's going to build another data center. The propane emissions are so bad that the methane is making the people sick. But you see, if you're in an area where you're using water, they've got to pull the water out of the earth to cool off their data centers and then put the water back into the earth. Okay, from a technology standpoint, it's ridiculous having all these data centers, because in the new world order, Reboot 3.0, we're going to a debit and credit system. And if you want to have your Bitcoins and all, I'm going to hedge this, I just love doing this, you can't. Why? How many credits do you need? Remember, this is the Monopoly game. And I'll get into Monopoly in a minute, but this is a Monopoly game. Wait, I've got 100,000 credits. I've got 500 million credits. I've got, good. Spend them. You never can. Why don't you try living for life instead of spending your whole life trying to make credits? See how the world is? See how I think? You look into the problem and you create a solution. With a debit and credit system, everybody comes out of poverty. There's no need for wars. And eventually, this is how far out I go, there's no borders. Imagine that one. You don't need governments. What do you need governments for? You want to pull a bet with bandits so they can make all the profits and do nothing for us? No. All we need is a government that keeps our country operating. In other words, the road highways and the commerce and all that. They manage the infrastructure of a certain geographical location that could have been called Gambia or France or whatever, and they manage the system so that people can sustain life. Now, once you get to that point, oh, the world is beautiful. It's an oyster. It's so gorgeous. I've traveled quite a bit. Not like some people travel all around the world, but I've been, traveling my life, and I love it. And I haven't met anybody that doesn't like traveling. I met a lot of people that have never traveled because they don't have enough money. So they have no perspective of the world. And that's sad. It's really sad. When you think somebody makes $25,000 a year, nobody can live on that. And these Beltway bandits say, oh, I'm here for you. Give me your vote. Oh, come on, gag me. I have to get a drink of water. Hold on a second here. Your politicians aren't here for you, are they? What have they done for you? So does anybody have any questions, any comments? Looks like I've got 26 people that are watching and there's 3 hearts. For some reason, let's see if I got any. I'm trying to get my thing working here. It should be there. Post comments. Streaming, look up level. No, that's fine. Get rid of it. Okay. Share your link, learn more, post a comment to someone, some comments to some destinations. Oh, you can't post comment. I'll just try this one. Anybody there? Let's see if this works. Okay, so I put anybody there. I put out there. If anybody's there, let me know. I'd love to have comments. Oh, show comments. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe no. Getting used to this. I've never done this before. So I'm getting new streaming, looking for a level up. Okay. Anyways, is there any comments? Okay. So what I'm doing at the Conscious Hour is to do one thing. To start interviewing people from around the world, and like Judge Napolitano. I'd love to be on his show. There's a whole host of people I'd like to have on my show and be on their show, because I really like to sit down among the thinkers and the ones that cover things and try to figure out solutions. How do we make the world a better place? And that's what the Conscious Hour is. I am visionary, always have been. And I think that we can build a new world order, but it needs to be guided by a principle that all life is sacred. All life is sacred. Not just humans. That means the birds and the bees and the animals and the trees and the seas, everything. So I want to talk about pollution. Consumption pollution, not from gasoline buying that, but overconsumption. I'm 73 years old. I have an attic full of stuff. I have a small storage locker full of stuff. This summer, I'm getting rid of all my stuff. It's been up there for a long time. Oh, I could sell it. Why sell it unless I need the money? I don't worry about money. So most of it just go away. Let somebody else have it. We have consumed so much that we don't even know we're addicted to consumption. So it's kind of like Pavlov's dog. You get an instant gratification when you buy something. You feel good, but then look at your closets for clothes. Some people have closets that are 30 feet long of clothes that they never wear. So in the new world, people will start looking at that. I don't have to buy things to be happy. And so we don't have to produce so much because we overproduce. And here's an example for cars. The car manufacturers make X amount of cars. Many years, they never sell them off. So they sit in big fields waiting to be shipped around the world. If you take airplanes, there are literally thousands and thousands of airplanes that still could fly that are mothballed sitting in the deserts all around the world. So what we've done is we produce way too much. We're producing for profits, not for sustainability. And you see, once you go into the debit and credit system and the addiction of, oh, I made 600 million credits this year, it isn't so important anymore because you're realizing that you can make all this massive amount of wealth, but then you have to invest it in something else, and you want to take more massive amount of wealth, but you can never spend the money. So the game we're playing is Monopoly on steroids, and it's an instant gratification. and it's been embedded in our psyche. And I'll be dealing with that later in another podcast or broadcast. If you have any questions, any comments, um, let me know. I don't have anybody commenting right now, but this is pre-record or recorded, and it will be up on the web, so you can watch this podcast that I just put out, which is actually my first one. There's a practice one we did this morning or yesterday. It was kind of fun trying to figure out how to make this thing work, but I think I got it now. But anyway, so the Conscious Hour is about this: creating solutions for our complex problems, leveling the playing field around the world so we treat each other with all respect. And I'm a problem solver, professional problem solver. I've done this since I was born, but got really involved with government in 1988 and went through federal agencies, moved to Central America, got involved down there, and traveled a little bit around the world. I know quite a few countries, and I've always seen it as the same. We're just humans living on planet Earth, and it's our home. And once we start thinking indigenous, meaning we're all one big family, then we're going to have a beautiful world. Yeah. Imagine a world where there's no poverty because we have a debit and credit system. Mm-hmm. Imagine we don't even need politicians anymore. We don't need Congress. What do we need them for? We need the government to manage our goods and services. That's it. Yeah. We don't have to have measure bills. Oh, I like this one. I got to go on with this one. So I went out back in 2001, whenever, when Hubert Walker Bush was president. He wanted to reconfigure the weapons complex to build more nuclear weapons. At that time, we had 6,200, I think, nuclear weapons. And I got a call. I was working with the Native Americans on the Columbia River, and I got a call from a guy at Greenpeace. And he said, "Hey, you want to go to lobby days in Washington, D.C.?" And I said, "Yeah, for what?" He's for the Complex 21, producing more nuclear weapons. And yeah, sign me up. So I flew to D.C. It was the first time I'd been to go lobby days. And the first person I met was Ted Kennedy. So I walked into Ted Kennedy's office and I said, "Hey, I like your idea about the Plutonium Control Act, because we have 200,000 pounds of weapons-grade plutonium. It takes less than 2 pounds to build a bomb. We could make a lot of bombs." And I said, "This is insane." I said, "You got a measure to stop all this, right?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, give me 15 pages or 15 of those documents I can get people to sign on to." So I was there for a week. I got 12. And I went to every congressional member and said, "Hey, do we really want to build more nuclear weapons when we have 6,600? Why don't we take that money and help America?" Make a long story short, it was stopped. It was stopped. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I got people together to bring common sense to the government to say, "Hey, we can do things better, spending our money making America," use the words, "great again." And that's what we need to do now. We need to take our problems, get rid of the indifferences. I'm a mediator. When I get with people, I don't care what brain, your left brain or right brain. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat. I don't care. All people are the same. Doesn't make any difference. Except, now, there's an exception. Some people are programmed to believe they're superior. And how's that worked out? One little percentage of the entire population of the world, 8.2 billion people, think that way. And that's a disease. Dis-ease. So with that, if there's no comments, I will turn this off. It's 39 minutes and 28 seconds. I'm going to be broadcasting a lot more using this platform. I'm on X, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Threads, I'm on YouTube. If you go to the YouTube library, you can find a whole host of videos, probably more than 100. If you go to TikTok, you can find a whole host of videos. Please take those, look at them, share them with your friends, and let's grow a conscious revolution. Remember, the Conscious Hour is our hour to get together, to use our common sense, take the collective consciousness together to solve problems and then roll the problems out and tell the governments, hey, fix it. And if you don't know how, here's how you do it. So I'm here to serve. I enjoy it. So thank you for tuning in to my first podcast, broadcast, whatever this thing is, this live feed. And I wish you all the best. And I'll see you soon on the other side. Have a good one. Take care.